coronavirus jumped from animals to humans. So I'm going to talk about, just talk about this a little bit, and then I'm going to talk about why we need to be vegan, not just because animals are sentient and they were never our property. They're sentient beings, and we have no right to be using them as property, as resources, but also, and that's the most important reason to be vegan, but also this is what's going to happen in the future. I'm not going to show the confronting images that are in this post. I don't believe in that sort of thing, but I'm going to read a little bit of this post, and then I want us to think about, if we're not vegan, not only are we persecuting and torturing and killing 1 trillion to 3 trillion land and aquatic animals every year for completely trivial reasons of mostly palate pleasure, because we don't need animal products at all to survive. We can easily meet all our nutrition requirements from plants and other non-animal sources. So the only reason we're creating this terrible violence, causing this terrible violence to sentient animals, is because we think animal products taste good. That's the only reason. And the only reason that we're contributing to the climate crisis, because animal agriculture is a major driver of the climate crisis, is because we think animal products taste good. And the only reason all these people are dying, and possibly in the future many, many millions more, it might, not just this particular one, but the mutations of all kinds of other zoonotic, that's animal to human, viruses that are happening due to animal farming, including the intensive animal farming that is widespread to meet population demand for animal products. The only reason this is all happening is because we think animal products taste good. I mean, seriously. So our survival is put to one side due to our taste buds. And vegan food, plant-based diet is delicious. It's better for us, it's better for the planet, and it's better for, obviously, other animals. That's the most important reason, because we don't need to use them. It's better for this ridiculous zoonotic viruses that are going to become more and more widespread. So I'm going to just quickly go through some of this, and then I want to talk a little bit more about this. So at least 10 cities home to 33 million people are in lockdown amid the spread of a new strain of coronavirus that originated in Wuhan, China, and has spread around the world. Like the deadly SARS and MERS virus that came before it, the Wuhan outbreak is believed to have evolved from coronavirus strains that previously only affected animals. Novel coronavirus, or 2019 nCoV, as the new strain is known, is classified as a zoonotic, meaning the first patient infected acquired the virus directly from animals. Coronavirus are not the only zoonotic diseases. HIV and Ebola also fall into this category, and biotechnology company Gilead Sciences is conducting tests to see if an experimental Ebola treatment called Remdesivir can combat 2019 nCoV. SARS, severe acute respiratory syndrome, is believed to have made a species jump from bats to humans via the intermediate host of farmed civet rats bred for human consumption, and MERS, Middle East respiratory syndrome, from bats via camels. The exact origin of 2019 nCoV is less clear, but a controversial new theory published by Chinese virologists 2 days ago pointed the finger at snakes, although some scientists are skeptical that virus could jump from a cold-blooded animal to a warm-blooded one. Zhong Neshan, a Chinese government medical advisor, also identified badgers and rats as possible sources. Beijing health officials have warned that while 2019 nCoV virus is not as deadly as SARS, it is mutating more quickly, making it more transmissible. Okay, so that's Wuhan, and there's actually been an outbreak of this coronavirus in, there's actually a person who has it in Victoria now, in Australia. There's 800-something cases around the world, and you can see that there. So coronaviruses are a family of viruses common in animals, with the newest deadly strain, novel coronavirus, identified in Wuhan, China. Now there are reports of the virus in nearly a dozen countries, including the US. Okay, so I'll just leave it there. It has similar symptoms to just a general sort of flu symptoms. So when a lot of these countries are in the middle of winter, they're or getting close to the middle of winter, there who who has this virus, and they can be transmitting this around to other people very easily because lots of people have flu symptoms in winter. So I saw a report today on the Maoist rebel Jason Unruhe's site, and it was quite dire. I have not seen anything from on the Chinese government site about it, and I know that that governments tend to sometimes underplay things because they don't want to panic people or whatever. So it's very difficult to ascertain how bad this is in China. According to Jason Unruhe, it's actually extremely bad, and the prediction was that there'd be 1.1 million people would die from the virus by early February, because that's how fast it was getting around to the population. So I'll leave a link to that, but it sort of sounds extremely dire in his report. There's many cities are being in lockdown by the hour in China. That's according to Jason Unruhe's report. And he's usually fairly reliable, but it depends really. He says that he cannot verify these reports, but anyway, I'll leave a link to that because it sounds incredibly dire according to these reports that he received. So who knows? But the thing is, as I've mentioned, until we stop using animals and until we stop, basically we're pumping them full of antibiotics because we're trying to meet demand for animal products in the world with an increasing population. There will be more and more industrialized farming. So these people that go around trying to end factory farming, that's a nonsense. That's really just a money spinner, because it's never ever going to happen. Because while people are not vegan on the planet and the population is increasing, and it's expected to be 11 billion by 2050, that it's not the animal product consumption is going to increase dramatically if veganism hasn't taken hold and it actually starts to reverse. And that means that there'll be more and more factory farming, industrialized farming. The idea that we could go to some sort of sustainable animal agriculture is also a nonsense, and I've talked about this in a number of videos, and that's what Extinction Rebellion is pushing, which is just appalling, really. But you can find my talking about this on other videos, and I'll leave a link to that, or you can look at just my veganism playlist, where I talk about just recently about that. But we need to just get a grip and realize that we cannot continue using animals. We cannot continue using them, firstly, because we don't have the right to use sentient beings this way and kill them. Secondly, because there's so many reasons, really. I could just give a list as long as your arm why. But on the main reasons I'm just going to talk about now, secondly, is because of climate crisis, which is of which animal agriculture is a major contributor. And, of course, this sort of thing, zoonotic diseases, which are caused by us by cramming lots and lots of animals into small spaces, pumping them full of, there's millions and millions of pounds of antibiotics that are pumped into animals before they have any illnesses. It's a sort of a preventative measure. And then the viruses and the bacteria become superbugs. They become resistant to those antibiotics. So we're actually causing our own demise in these industrialized farms by pumping these animals, keeping them in close quarters so they're likely to develop diseases, and then these diseases are passed on to humans through the workers, just through the people tramping these bacteria through the streets of various cities. They catch them, respiratory illnesses, and all of that sort of thing. And then, of course, transferring these illnesses via the animal products themselves. We're causing our own demise with this crazy sort of animal product consumption, which is killing us because it's really bad for us and doesn't belong in our system. But it's also these zoonotic diseases are going to become more and more virulent and more prolific, more and more deadly, because this isn't normal, what we're doing to animals. It's not normal. And they're becoming weak and sick, and then they develop different diseases on top of that. it's just a complete insanity that we keep consuming animal products. So we need to go vegan first for animals, then for ourselves. We are animals too. And then for the sixth mass extinction, which is in progress and we're on the front lines. Then for the climate crisis, which is why the sixth mass extinction is happening. And for, to prevent these kind of diseases like the coronavirus, which, of course, they say it's about snakes and everything. But that may be true in this case. But I mean, we're going to see, we've got all sorts of, where the pigs are developing different sorts of viruses, and that's going to become more and more common. And many millions of pigs die terrible deaths. They're shoveled into these great big holes in the earth and covered up, buried alive. There's all sorts of awful things that we're doing to these animals, and just for stupid, trivial reasons. So please, let's go vegan. This could be a really dire thing, this particular virus, this coronavirus, this strain for the planet, which is, an animal to human thing, could be really dire if it's not contained. But it's not going to be the end of it. And I'm going to leave a link to a Gentle World essay about superbugs and these industrialized farms. But let's not jump then to this as if it's the answer. Let's have small farms. Let's have quote unquote sustainable animal agriculture. Let's not do that stupid suggestion, which is something that Extinction Rebellion is pushing, because that is not only impossible to do because of the rise of the population, and that's why we have industrialized animal agriculture, which is the same with free range. Free range is actually now industrialized. They're putting 50,000 animals in a windowless kind of shed, and they get an hour outside a day, and there's still death and suffering, and in the end they're all killed. There's plenty of diseases in these so-called free-range facilities, in rich cages and all that nonsense. So let's not go to that silly and foolish solution, which still involves tremendous violence and will still be creating diseases. It's still putting tremendous stress on the planet. So it's not going to go backwards. Our population is going forwards, and animal agriculture is not going to actually feed the planet by 2050. And I'll put a link to Chris Hedges on Contact, where he talks about the looming food crisis, that animal agriculture couldn't possibly feed the planet by 2050.
By 2050, the world's population is expected to reach nearly 9.8 billion. Most of this increase will occur in the global south. To feed a population of this size, we will have to produce more food in the next 40 years than was consumed in the last 10,000 years. If we continue to rely on the animal agriculture industry to feed us, the planetary food supply will soon suffer severe shortages, leading to massive hunger, malnutrition, starvation, and widespread unrest. Industrial animal agriculture already occupies more than half of the world's arable land and resources. It consumes most of our water. It expels more greenhouse gas emissions than the entire transportation sector. It is polluting and often poisoning the water, soil, and air, and deforesting the planet, as well as causing species extinction. The clash between overpopulation and a species reliant on the animal agriculture industry is a recipe for global catastrophe.
So we may as well let go or be dragged and do what's right for other animals, for ourselves, and for the planet, and go vegan. So that's, and I'll show you those two memes that I like to show. Sorry for anybody who follows this channel fairly regularly. But it's something that it's important. It's science, and it's a science-backed largest study to date, and why we need to adopt a plant-based diet. Okay, so my name's Trish Roberts. Thanks so much for watching.